Hello to all of you FGO connoisseurs, I am Dedazy, and today we will be having a look at my top 5 AOE sabers. Before we start, this is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, and secondly, subscribe now.
I was acting. Or was I?
Anyways, let's start. Coming up at number 5 we have the King of Knights, Arthur. Boy, has this guy come a long way. He went from one of the worst sabers to being one of the best in my opinion. He has the highest attack stat amongst all sabers along with Sigurd, but that's just a bonus. Just wait till you see his buffed skills. First skill, used to be a normal mana burst, but now it's actually stupid. It's a buster mana burst on a high uptime along an NP gain buff. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's probably the best buster self buff in the game. Second skill also used to be shit, but now, boom. It's an amazing crit buff on high uptime plus a massive star bomb. These first two skills just makes him hit like a freaking truck, especially when he crits. Third skill is probably the weakest. It's a massive damage mode super against giant enemies. Along with the battery. The battery is nice to have, but wish it was a 30%. And the damage mod will rarely come into play. His NP. And this is why he is not any higher on the list. Bro, who allowed this? It buffs his NP damage by 10% and deals damage to all enemies. 10% for one turn is so weak, and the fact it's the only effect is just sad. Also, since this NP didn't get any buff, it hits like a wet noodle that is still in water. Like, this is supposed to be one of the strongest NPs in the game. It's freaking Excalibur. Please buff it. Coming up at number 4, and this will annoy a lot of people. It's Buki Douji. Yeah, mommy Buki herself. She has high attack and okay NP gain despite the gorilla deck. Her first skill is just a casual 50% battery and a massive attack up for 3 times or 3 turns. Wish it was just 3 turns. A very good skill as it helps her with farming. Second skill is a buster up and defense up on a high uptime, plus a decent star bomb. This skill is amazing. It makes her damage much more consistent and increases survivability if you're bringing her against bosses. Also, she can stack the buster up on the 3rd turn when buster farming. Third skill is an NP seal to one enemy, and then gives her a damage mod against undead enemies plus decent crit buff for 3 turns. It's an okay skill. Undead enemies are quite rare to find though. She has amazing passives. A 12% buster up is amazing considering her gorilla deck, and the damage cut is quite nice. And then there is the NP, and boy is it amazing. So much like some certain twins we know of, it applies ignore invincibility and deals damage that ignores defense. So again, unless they have Castoria, no one can escape this NP. It then applies a buster down for 3 turns to all enemies. This is an insane NP. She is very versatile. You can use her both for boss fights and farming. Coming up at number 3, we have Summer Okita Alta. Some might call me crazy, but this servant is amazing. She has good attack and stupidly high NP gain and star generation. But looking at her skills, first skill is an attack, quick and buster up on a decent uptime. A solid skill that makes her damage more consistent. Second skill is an NP battery, a crit buff on a high uptime and a star absorb for 1 turn. Wish the star absorb was 3 turns as well, but still a very good skill that enables her more options for farming. Third skill grants invincibility for 2 attacks or 3 turns and increases her NP gain. Solid defensive buff for boss fights, and the NP gain makes farming with her so easy. Her third append skill gives her damage against berserkers, which can be useful. And finally her NP. I love this NP. It gives her a quick up for 1 turn and removes all defensive buffs before dealing damage. So unless the enemy has buff removal resistance, which is very rare, this NP will always hit. She is one of the premier quick farmers. She can farm in so many ways, and also she can be used in challenge quests thanks to the utility of her NP and her crit potential. Coming up at number 2, and I am ready for a lot of backlash, but I have to. It's the King of Knights. Again, Archery Pendragon. It makes me so happy to see how far this servant has got, since she really deserves it. Her skill sets, despite being basic, just works so well with buster farming. First skill is a charisma. It's weak but helps with farming, I guess. Second skill used to be a normal mana burst, but now, oh boy, it now adds a massive NP up for one turn and makes all her cards turn to Buster for that turn. Forget about Gorilla Deck, she becomes freaking King Kong. I love this skill, and since the cooldown is 5 turns, it can be used on turn 2 and 3 when Buster farming. Third skill, and without this she wouldn't be here at all, is an NP battery along a decent star bomb. 30% and a 5 turn cooldown are the magic numbers that makes all of this work. Her NP also has an effect that makes Buster farming seamless. It deals damage and gives her a 20% battery refund. That 20% is the final piece to make her one of the best Buster farmers in the entire game. And no one can deny that. I only have her higher than Buki because she is much easier to get since she's not limited or story locked. Before talking about number 1, here are some honorable mentions. Firstly, we have Mordred. She is kinda like in the middle between Arturia and Arthur. She can do both quite well, but Arthur is a better DPS and Arturia is a better farmer since Mordred's battery is on a 6 turn cooldown. Secondly, we have Charlemagne. He is quite a decent quick AOE, but I feel like Summer Octa Alter overshadow him a bit. With that out of the way, coming up at number 1, I mean everyone saw it coming. It's Muramasa, Mr. Sword himself. This guy is amazing and there is a reason why so many people are saving for him from now. His first skill is basically Geronimo 2.5. It's a rainbow mana burst with star absorb for 1 turn and a star bomb. One of the best mana bursts in the game. Second skill gives him ignore invincibility for 1 turn and increases crit damage and star gen massively for 3 turns on a decent uptime. Also, if an enemy had an evade or invincibility, they will take another 100% more crit damage. That's just stupid. He will basically wipe anyone who has an invincibility or an evade off the map. This skill is insane. Third skill is a casual 50% battery that grants him a buff where each normal attack increases his NP by up to 10%. This skill helps him with farming and makes getting his NP up effortless. He has very cool passives. His NP. And how is this NP fair? It grants an NP up just like Arthur but for 3 turns instead of 1.
This is outrageous. It's unfair.
It grants an arts up for 3 turns. It removes all enemies' offensive buffs and deals damage that ignores defense. That's such a stacked NP. The arts and NP up being for 3 turns means he can stack up the buffs while looping. He is the best arts saber looper in the game and his crit potential and utility makes him amazing at challenge quests as well. Do you agree with my list? Let's discuss it down in the comments section. Be sure to check out my top 5 single target sabers and my top 5 series. That's it for this video. Now like and subscribe for this shitty channel. Bye.